Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to Work Life Leader Live. My name is Julie Cohen. I am the CEO of Work Life Leader. We are a boutique leadership development, executive coaching, and training organization. And this is the first episode of Work Life Leader Live of 2022. So I'm glad you're here and I'm looking forward to your participation and joining us in this really interesting conversation. For those of you who this is your first time watching, Work Life Leader Live is a conversation with smart people about interesting topics related to the intersection of work, life, and leadership. So with no further ado, I'm going to bring on our guest, Yu Zhong. Hi, Yu.
Hi, Julie. Happy New Year. And for those who are celebrating the Lunar New Year, Happy Lunar New Year. It's been a while.
Yeah. So wait, is there a greeting? Is there a Lunar New Year greeting that one says?
If you want to learn Chinese, here's your chance. You can always say 春节快乐. 春节 means Lunar New Year, and 快乐 is just happy.
Awesome. Thank you. I always love I love language, and I'm not going to try to repeat it because my guess is I would butcher it. So, well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And to introduce today's topic, we're talking about the project manager mindset. As you can see, Yu Zhong is a senior project manager, and I'm going to introduce her a little bit more fully, but we're talking about the integral skills of project management, how it can serve beyond just the project managing function into really overall professional and organizational success. And then I will now segue into introducing Yu Zhong and her skills a little more in depth. So Yu Zhong is currently a senior project manager at Collibra. And Collibra is a software development company, is that right?
Yes, it's a data intelligent cloud platform company.
Oh, thank you for clarifying. And she has over 10 years of project and program management success. Yu has experience in a wide range of industries, including technology, higher education, and government. And she has extensive training and many certifications, including the PMP, which is the prestigious project management professional designation from the PMI, which is the Project Management Institute, as well as she is a Scrum Master. So welcome, Yu.
Thank you, Julie, for having me.
So I always like to get a little personal. I know you and have had the honor of knowing her for a few years. Do you want to share your really unique hobby with us?
I don't know who is in the audience, but if anyone's dancing Argentinian tango, I'm sure we'll meet somewhere sometime, because my goal of the year is to travel around the world while exploring remote working options, so that I get to explore interesting city, dancing tango, and meeting very interesting people along the journey. So awesome. That's the secret hobby of mine.
Awesome. So we're going to now dive into the content. So if you're watching, please let us know. We'll be coming to the comments regularly for your input, for your questions. So if you're here, please introduce yourself in the comments. Let us know where you're from and use hashtag live so we know you're watching live. This will be available in recorded format after we're finished today. But we'd love to know who's here, because the most interesting conversations are ones that are interactive, where people are watching and asking questions and sharing their experience. So because we're talking about project management, I always start with an icebreaker where we kind of bring the topic home. So my icebreaker for you, and I'm going to be coming to any viewers, so think about the answer for you, is what is a project that maybe you've worked on in the past, but something you've learned about yourself from working in that project?
I think anything can be a project. I think that the idea of project is that it is to bring a change into a current situation, into an environment within limited resources and time frame. So anything can be a project, and a fun project that everyone might have done in the past is, completing your education, going to college. And for me, I think probably the biggest, most challenging project is to bring myself from China to the States, first through study. So that was within a 2-year time frame where I quickly applied for Columbia University and went to school, went through all the extensive studies and field education, and finally graduated. And I consider that this great success. And that was a project that probably everybody has done at some point
Right.
in your life.
Was there something specific? I'm sure there's lots, obviously, from a project that extensive. What was one thing you learned about yourself? Maybe something that you didn't think you could do?
I think the biggest realization is that if you know this is what you want, all you need is to figure out how you do it. And I think figure out the why, figure out the reasons why it is important, why I want to came to the States for study, why the United States, why college, why education. Understanding the why behind an emotion or a decision is most important and is most crucial, because it helps you identify the approach and the steps, the process, resources, and people you need a network to find out the next steps. That's the most important thing. So I feel like understanding the why, understanding the reason before you execute anything, execute any projects, deciding how you want to do it is critical to the success of anything.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. So before I answer the icebreaker, I'm going to put it out to those who are viewers. And I see we have a bunch of people here. Welcome to Cynthia Luna. Hi, Cynthia. And Bill Hyman is here from Philadelphia.
Hello.
And there's two people. Unfortunately, for some reason, my platform is not giving me everyone's name. So we have a LinkedIn user from Fort Carson, Colorado. Welcome. And we have another LinkedIn user who is in progress for their PMP this
Nice.
month. So, again, if you're still with us and you want me to call you by your name, just put your first name or your whole name in the subject. For some reason, your name isn't coming up on LinkedIn. It may be a setting that you have around privacy. So, but we'd love to hear. So if you want to share in the comments something you've learned for when you've managed a project about yourself. And then hello. Oh, more people are joining us. Hi, Steve Shack. Hi, Lisa Shaughnessy. Hi, Jill Handy. We have some West reunion here going on. Awesome. So I'll share a bit about my project. And again, if you're watching, please let us know a project that you've worked on and what you learned about yourself. So one of my first really big projects was probably about 20 years ago. I developed a day-long conference for a professional organization I was in. I developed it, I planned it, I chaired it, I created the people who were working on it, the committees, and then implemented from beginning to end. And we had about 200 people attend this day-long event. And it was the first time the organization did anything like that. The things that I learned, there's two things that I learned. One, that I'm very kind of compulsive in organizing, and it served making things happen because there were so many things going on. But number two, I learned that I can't do it all. And number three, always get the best people in the right roles. And so that was where I was kind of a bit of a control freak and wanted to do everything to make sure it was perfect. That was the beginning of my really understanding not just delegation, but bringing in the best people for jobs that there weren't the right people to fill. So those were things I learned that I still, use today. So would love to hear from you. We've got some more folks who joined us. It looks like one of the folks, Jose Moreno, welcome. Jill Goldstone, great. We have a lot of great people here. So again, in the comments, if something you've learned from managing a project, we'd love to hear that. Put that in a comment and I'll share it. And as we go along, any questions or comments you have, we'll be coming back to those regularly to bring you into the conversation. So let's get started with the first question. Why are project managers important to project and organizational success? I mean, that's a very big question. So give me your first thoughts and then we'll see where it takes us.
Of course, I think I have several points in mind. And the first thing I think is to bring alignment with stakeholders, with business strategy. I think that's a crucial key or a crucial role that a project manager should play. And that ensures the success of a project. Because again, going back to the why we're doing this, why is it important to the business? If we were to execute this project, what benefits would it have brought to the company? So looking at the company strategy, looking at the organizational initiatives, looking at the goals that a team or a department aims to achieve of the year, understanding why we want this project and what kind of changes we're looking for so that it supports the overall strategies, initiatives, and goals is always the first step and always the key to ensuring the success of a project. So that's kind of the first thing that brought to that came to
alignment.
mind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, and one of the reasons why we're doing this topic and why I think it's so critical is so much of what Yu is going to be sharing around project management is relevant to kind of individual management, work management, life management, leadership management. And I've always likened executive coaching and leadership development to kind of personal project management. And so that issue of alignment is really critical when an individual wants to, build their skills, build their team, build anything. So I'm definitely looking for your input in that as we kind of dissect. So do you want to maybe explain a little more about alignment? I'm just curious, like, for those who maybe aren't familiar with alignment, just maybe a brief introduction to alignment.
So if we take kind of personal examples, a question you've often been asked is, what do you want out of life? Or at this very point, at this very moment, what do you want out of 2022? So alignment means looking at the things. Maybe you have a whole list of things. These are the activities. These are the things I wanted to do this year. And then you may have pause and think about, what is it that I want to get out of the year? Maybe for some personal goals, it could be this year, I really wanted to have a healthy balance in life. Then you have a list of things. I want to exercise. I want to control my diet. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to have more drinks. Then what are some of the things aligned with the overall goal you want to achieve out of the year? So that's a very simple example of alignment. That's sort of looking at the goals overall, looking at the list of things you want to do. And that will help you select what are the probably the activities that gets you closer or make it faster to achieve the goals you want out of the year.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same applies to business environment.
Right. Okay. Yes. I mean, that's kind of where we're coming from, but it's nice to get it down to, kind of the personal, and obviously those goals could be any. So we've got a couple people who've responded to our icebreaker. So Kevin Williams from Connecticut. Hi, Kevin. It's great to see your face on my screen. So big project learning for Kevin. Be sure you've broken down the steps into manageable tasks. Actually, we'll share it with everyone so they can see it. Sometimes when you don't, the project seems too daunting to accomplish. All right, so let's talk about that, breaking down into manageable tasks. Is that part of the project? Where does that fit in the project management process?
When you ask project managers, what do they love the most? Gantt chart, work breakdown structure. I know those are big jargons and words, but essentially the concept is breaking things down into chewable amounts. And it really depends on, how many resources you can have so that you'll be able to accomplish something within maybe a week's time. That's maybe the smallest unit that you can chew. Or it's looking at something. If it's executing an event, then you look at kind of the sequence. There's preparation, there's planning, there's looking out for the venue, there's the actual show time, and there's kind of post-event follow-up, looking at those process and looking at what things needs to happen within each step. And then break these things down by the time, by the sequence, by the order. I think it's critical, and that's essentially what project management is, to look at what are the key components and what are the best ways to break them down into smaller, chewable pieces that can be executed based on the resources you have within a certain time frame, so that it's not daunting, it's not overwhelming, so that the group of teams can work together and get things done and move on to the next step. So absolutely, that's the critical elements of project management.
Excellent. So we have another. This is great. So Jill Handy, hello Jill. She shared she learned the importance of evaluation during the progression of the project. A project must remain living and breathing, never static. Flexibility and honest insights are key throughout. What do you think on like where's that fit?
Absolutely. I think evaluation on a regular basis is key to project management. And I'm sure if any of you are Agile practitioners, you probably are more familiar with the Agile Manifesto. One of them is key, really is responding to change over kind of following a plan. So that means a team should sort of pause on a regular basis to think about what has worked well, what could have been improved, and what are some of the immediate actions we can change in terms of managing a project, delivering work, working with each other, so that we can improve and bring those ideas immediately into the kind of the next execution phase. So I absolutely agree with Jill that evaluation, retrospectives, thinking about what works, what hasn't worked well, what could have been improved, is always key to kind of improve how we manage projects and how we kind of work together as a team. So absolutely.
Yeah, and it's again, bringing that back into professional development, leadership development, from an individual or a team, progress. As a coach, one of the questions we ask in every coaching session is, what are you gaining from this? What are you taking away from this? How is this working for you? So we don't do something if we're not clear on the results we're getting, and if the results are what you want, you keep doing it. If the results are not what you want, then you need to step back and reassess and choose something else. So there again, we're showing the overlap of project management, and the philosophy behind it is good leadership development, is good professional development. So thank you for
Absolutely.
that.
And I definitely see the similarities of a kind of between a project manager and a coach, is that we ask a lot of questions. It's not necessarily that, as a coach or as a project manager, I know everything. And often the case is I don't know everything. The people I work with know everything. And sometimes the challenge is to ask the right questions to get the thoughts out of their head and to create a safe environment for them to share those thoughts with each other, so that we have the depth of knowledge and information to make the best decisions for the next steps.
Yes. Now I want to come back to questions, because that is a critical tool for, again, for professional and leadership development. And it's a critical tool that a coach uses. And you're affirming how critical it is for effective project management. But before we talk about questions, I wanted to reintroduce you and our conversation. This is Work Life Leader Live, and we're live if you're watching this on Wednesday, February 2nd, around 12:20 Eastern US. And so with that, our topic today is the project manager mindset. We all need it. And our guest is a expert project manager, Yu Zhong from Collibra. And please, while you're watching, share comments, questions, anything any experience you have with project management, anything that resonates with you, what we're talking about, and anything you want to know about, or if you have a contrarian perspective, we'd love to hear that too. And then I'm gonna just go. We're gonna come back. Actually, let's go to questions now because we just ended that, and then we're gonna come back. We have a couple other people responding to our icebreaker. So let's talk about questions. What kind of questions does a project manager ask, and when?
That's a great question, Julie, and it's also a big question. I would say, like I said at the beginning, understanding the why we're doing this project, what is the business value, what benefits would it bring to the team if we were to execute it. And I think those are often typically the first sets of questions whenever I'm told that this is a project we wanted to do, this is something we want to do for the year, this is the critical project we wanted to experiment or we wanted to try. I always trying to understand the why. So the sets of why questions around the value, around the kind of the benefits, around kind of the outcomes that you will bring to the organization, to the team, is always kind of the first go-tos. And I think it's critical that you drill in those answers at the beginning. And then the following questions often is, why we think that way, and what are the data and stats that kind of can support our hypothesis. What are our hypotheses? By doing this project, we believe that it will bring certain benefits to the organization. And here's the stats historically that has shown us that this project could have been a success. So I think those are kind of the following up sets of questions, understanding the context, understanding the stats, what is it that is telling us. And then I think the following questions would be, how are you going to do it? And that goes back to, resources, team, money, and importantly, who are the stakeholders? Who are the people that care about this project? Who care about the outcomes of the projects? Who are the people that can support us, either, from the money perspective, from the budgeting perspective, from the resources perspective, from technology and support perspectives? Who are the critical people that can ensure the success of the projects? And I think those are critical. Once we understand the value, we understand the context, then we understand who are the people that ensures the success of it. And then we can answer the questions of, okay, how are we going to do this? If it's a bigger chunk, what are some of the risks that we may want to consider? What are some of and how are we going to manage risks? How are we going to manage change? I think those are kind of bigger questions before we can drill down to the details. So I would say key thinking steps, those are kind of thinking patterns. You understand the why, you understand that value, you understand the context, understand the people before you actually think about, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3.
Right. So this actually leads to, so Bill Hyman shared one of his big learnings. One of my biggest learnings is the importance to ensure that stakeholders are kept informed continuously throughout the project with respect to schedule, cost, and potential risks. So you were just talking about stakeholders. So communication seems to be a big part of project management. Yes?
It is huge. And I'm glad that William actually pointed out that stakeholders they need to be kept informed. And I know that stakeholders oftentimes it's a concept, it's a term that has often been discussed, but in reality, in execution, oftentimes, how many of you has an actual list of stakeholders, understanding who they are, what their roles, what their responsibilities, understanding what their preferred communication channel style? Because some stakeholders, if they are VPs, they are directors, they're busy people, they may not have the time to read email. Sometimes they just want a one-page brief. That's their preferred, channel, their preferred method of communication. Then this could be the preferred way of informing them of the progress. And your team members are critical stakeholders, and they may need to know more details than just kind of a high-level overviews of how the project goes. So what's their preferred way of communication? maybe not just emails, maybe not only Slacks or Zooms, maybe more constant, regular check-ins are preferred by team members. So I think at the beginning, by understanding who the stakeholders are, what their preferred ways of being informed of the progress, how they want to engage with the project, is also critical things to think about.
Yeah. So it's interesting, this issue of stakeholders and um, engaging with them fully. Um, Again, totally tied back to leadership development as well as like individual career management. You know, as you progress professionally, as one progresses professionally, you know, regardless of the level you are in an organization, it's critical to know who are the people that can support you or are involved either in facilitating your growth or are potential roadblocks, and understand and building relationships with them to facilitate both individual and organizational success is critical. So this is really ringing true to my analogy that, you know, leadership development and executive coaching is personal project management. So excellent. So Kevin Williams affirms on this, and I see a couple people, other people have joined. I didn't say hello to Roberta Chandler. Welcome, Roberta. And Jill, I think Jill Goldston, I can't remember if I said hello to you or not, but welcome again if I already did. So Kevin Williams affirms, biggest thing to remember with stakeholders is what they need to gain from the changes the project introduces. The more you help them see the value to their organization, the stronger the support you will get from them. So that's really
And that
critical.
goes back to alignment. Yes, that goes to alignment and alignment with stakeholders' expectations, because to help them and through communication to better help them why this project matters to them, why it matters to their teams, what benefits it could have bring to the teams, will definitely help them gain support from them, to help ensure the success of the project. And from a personal perspective, for example, if you look around, who are your supporters, your peers, your supervisors, your managers, your coach, your family, your friends, and what is it that how can they support you, and what do they need to know about your progress and the things you plan to do so that they can better support you and help you and provide you with the advice and guidance that help you go through kind of the changes you want to bring to your life is crucial. And how are you managing to do that? Maybe a phone call with families, maybe kind of schedule regular one-on-ones with your peers, with your coach, with your managers, will be kind of key steps to get feedback to see whether things are working well or not. So I feel like they're absolutely, great tips to help manage projects either from a personal perspective or from a business perspective.
Right, right. So let me just reintroduce our conversation. I'm Julie Cohen. This is Work Life Leader Live. And we're talking about the project manager mindset. We all need it. And I'm having this conversation with Yu Zhong, who's a senior project manager from Collibra. So let's get back to the name of our conversation, the project manager mindset. Let's talk about mindset. What are the beliefs that a project manager holds that leads to success?
That's a great question, Julie. Project managers work with people. So I would say the most important mindset that I have is to trust the people, trust your people, trust the team. You need to be people oriented. And what that means is that, and I'm a big fan of the Agile Manifesto, is that individuals and interactions over processes and tools. That means if anything comes up, go to the people, go have a conversation with them, rather than kind of avoiding or leveraging the technology and tools instead, rather than kind of like avoiding conversations and communications directly with the people. And I think it also means to create a safe environment for the people that you work with so that they feel comfortable to share, whether it's a concern, share their wins, share the issues that they could really use some support from the project manager. I think it's critical because you work with the people, you want them to feel comfortable You want them to feel safe. You want them to trust each other and trust you, so that you can kind of really gel together. So I think that the people-oriented mindset that's the first thing I think anyone should have considered, because without that, without the people backing up a project, things easily fall apart. Doesn't matter how great your plan is, doesn't matter how great your documentation is. It is the people who are working on those pieces, and you will need them to execute the work. So how you support them, it all comes from the trust.
Yeah, so trust is critical. I see we have a comment. I was asking about the mindset, so I'd actually love to hear from those of you who are watching. If you what you think is an important mindset component of success with project management, whether it's a large scale project or an individual project. What's the right mindset? And I think Steve Shack just shared one, and he said there's always a way to do it. And so there is a that approach exhibits tenacity and commitment and hard work. A lot of work in my field, we talk about the growth mindset, where you look forward and you believe you can solve problems. You believe you don't know everything, and there's always opportunities to learn, so you can continue to move forward and develop and evolve. So curious if other people have thoughts around mindset. We have a new person to welcome. Hello, I'm gonna try not to mispronounce your name, but Ayobola Fadayibi from Nigeria. Welcome, and I see from your qualifications, you are a PMP also, and you have another. He has another set of initials after his name, ITIL. I'm wondering if that's another project management credential, but I'm not familiar with that. So if you want to tell us what your ITIL is, Ayubolo, I'd love to hear. So we have a question for you, So Kevin Williams if you have this, would like to hear an example of a project that may have been 80% or more complete, and a discovery showed it wasn't worth finishing.
That's a tough question. I would have to say that personally, I was very fortunate to haven't run into a project like that. And again, I think that goes back to the key points that I try to emphasize here again and again, is alignment. And it's always constantly checking in with the stakeholders to see, is this still something that they still expect to see? Is it still the change that they expect to bring? So that at any point of a project execution, we can always make decisions to determine whether there is still value to continue doing it or not. I think oftentimes people get caught in the mindset that a project is only successful when it is completed. But what's the definition of completion? I think sometimes cancellation, pausing it, shelving it, it's part of completion. It can be a completion if a project proves to be not meeting the business value. It could be that the environment has changed. It could be that if it's a software that you are developing, you realize that the fundamental codes are not working, or you realize that a competitor has already developed a full set of products, and your software will have either it has to be significantly different, or it would have to be significantly cheaper when it's launched. All through this discovery, all through the execution, monitoring what changes, monitoring the risks that could have endangered the success of a project, and making a call to cancel it at any point, I think is crucial. And like the question shows itself, a discovery shows it. That means even if you are in the project execution phase, it is always important to see what environmental changes that could have bring that may just make the project fail. Then it's critical to bring back your stakeholders, present them with the risks that you have discovered, and ask them, Are you still willing? To what extent are you still willing to accept this risk? Are we still executing it to the end? Whatever that we deliver is whatever that we have. And are you okay with that? And if they're not okay with this, then it's the time to decide, should we just drop it? And to me, that doesn't necessarily equal to project failure. It just means that throughout the discovery, throughout the project itself, we discover that this approach, or what we thought it could have worked, is not working. So we're going to drop it. We're going to do something else with the best use of the money and resources that we have.
Got it. Okay. Well, and again, that's a really crucial skill. Regardless of your role in project beyond project management, is understanding when to paraphrase Kenny Rogers, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Know when to walk away from a project when, again, a project, a goal, a task, a relationship, and knowing when 80% is enough. I'm curious, Kevin, and you can maybe put a comment for us if you've ever been, if you're talking from experience, if you've ever been in a situation and how that worked out, and kind of the costs and benefits of kind of managing through that situation. So we have a couple more comments. So Steve Shack mentioned that I've seen projects that should have been stopped. And then Laurent Capron, thank you for welcome. This is your first comment. He said, ask Google about their first smartphone project when Apple announced the iPhone touchscreen, no keyboard. So I guess they put that aside, and that's why we're using iPhones today, right? And Ayabolo, he did clarify the ITIL. It's an IT service management certification. So thank you. All right. So let's talk a little bit about risks. So, kind of builds on kind of what Kevin, mentioned here. How does like risk management play into project management? How does that fit in?
Great question. I think risks assessment and mitigation, it's from the start till the end. So like we discussed, when we first understand like kind of overall what the project looks like, we may want to consider what could have bring failure to the project. It could have been environmental, it could have been business, it could have been the people, it could have been anything. So anything can happen to a project. I think as a project manager, it is important to bring the right people to assess, to kind of brainstorm, to have an overall idea of the risks that a project could have faced, and to have a documentation of the risks, to have an understanding of potential strategies when certain things surface, when certain things happen. It could have been easier example, in the middle of the project, some team member leaves. Some team members has family difficulties and cannot work on this project anymore. What are the backup plans? And who are kind of the owner of that risk, so that when things actually happen, you have a backup plan. You have a person who can turn these risks either into an opportunity or turn it into something that's manageable, controllable. So I think the concept is not that you can avoid risks. It's really understanding how willing or to what extent you can accept those risks. Because some risks are out of our control. You can't control whether an earthquake is happening or not. If it's happening today, it's going to affect the building you're working in. You cannot work on it anymore. That's something out of control. But it is important to understand how are you going to accept it, and what are the ways that you can deal with those risks. And you can either kind of avoid it, you can kind of accept it, you can find other ways to turn it into something else. So I think as a project manager, it is crucial to kind of monitoring this, revisit this, reassess it from beginning to end, so that you always ensure that there is a plan B. There is always a level of effort to put in, so that when something happens, you have a strategy, you have tactics to handle it. And I
Right.
think it applies to personal life as well. And I'm curious, Julie, have you ever kind of, like, in managing your personal projects, has anything ever happened to you and you were like, what am I going to do if this happens? Those what if something
Oh yeah,
happens.
of course. I mean, that happens with all projects. You know, I think that's so. This is the line. You know, as a coach, working with my clients, which you know, I look a lot of the issues that my clients deal with, I deal with too. But it's that issue of when we have a project or a goal or something important. Um, you know, asking what ifs can serve you. It can make you, you know, aware of what could happen, so it can help with preparation. But if you ask too much, it can get in the way. It can cause, you know, that the proverbial analysis paralysis. You're trying to fix everything before you get started. So you have to understand how to you know, modulate kind of risk aversion, and make kind of it serve you, not, you know, not diminish what you want to accomplish. So Kevin just did respond, like, about his question about the 80% project. He said the business decision is the easy part of stopping a project. It's the emotional piece you have to fight through, avoiding thinking you failed. So there it goes to the mindset. Mindset is really critical.
Exactly. And I think another critical mindset to have is agility. Like I said, I think responding to change is more important than following a plan. And I think you definitely will feel frustrated when you're in the middle of something and you were told that there is no value, you're going to cancel it. And it's the emotional piece that you will have to deal with. But think about it that way, that since project is to bring a change, if it's not working the way that you wanted, would you rather spend more time to know that this is continue to be a dead end? If you know that this is a dead end, would you rather stop early, or would you go through it, hit the end, and you were like, oh, it's too late? So I think look at it from a different angle, that this is an experiment. And when you're at a point, you realize, oh, the experiment is not quite going the way that we want. We want to avoid the sunk cost. Then bite the cost, stop it, and you can use the resources unused. You can use your time unused to devote to something else that might have brought the exact change you wanted to see from this project. So I think, yes, it can be frustrating, but it also means that you save the time and energy for something else that's worth exploring. And I think that's also a kind of an important mindset to have.
Yeah, great. So let's talk. So we have a little under 10 minutes left. So we're coming to the end, but we will have some time for questions anytime before we wrap up. So since we are coming to the last 7 or 8 minutes, please let us know any questions that either you or I could respond to. But I do want to, I guess, kind of the what might have we missed so far? Like, one of the things that you and I talked about in advance were the you know, specific skills that are used in project management, that are just important skills in general. We've talked about a lot of it already. So are there anything that we haven't mentioned that you think is a critical component of both successful project management that people can use anywhere?
I think a question that I've often asked is that, do I need a PMP to do project management? Or do I need to go through, professional or official training to be a successful project manager? I would say the answer is not necessarily yes, that you need those certifications. I feel like I said, everybody is a project manager. We have projects in our own lives. We're dealing with it at the personal or professional level. I think a lot of times you learn from the experience. It is important probably to have an idea of what are the kind of the popular certifications to have an understanding of why those certifications are popular, why employers are looking at them, to understanding the why behind what is it that's asked for. And I would say that a lot of times that the trainings can come from the life experience. And I would say it is probably important if you have never worked with a project manager before, if you have no idea of what a project manager does, but you're involved in the project, then observe,
Yeah.
look at what people do, look at how things are being managed. And then there are a lot of materials surfacing, read. Those are kind of tips to help have a sense of what project management is. And if you are then still interested, you feel like I needed to kind of go through official trainings so that I can deepen my understanding, to learn more techniques and the technology and software and tools to help you manage better. If this is a profession you're interested in exploring, then I would say probably certification and education could be a good supplement, or
Yeah.
could be a good pathway. So I feel like that's something that I've been missed, because often I'm asked, like, do I need a certification? Do I need a
Yeah. Yeah.
PMP to do project management? Not
Well,
necessarily.
it's interesting. One of the, again, another similarity between project management and executive coaching is a lot of times in organizations, my company and I, we go in and teach coaching skills for managers, because the skills we use are really valuable in any environment. But we're teaching skills. We're not teaching someone how to be a professional coach. We're teaching them how to use certain skills that serve them. So my guess, it's a similarity. It's having skills that project managers use are valuable in any environment. That doesn't make you, a professional project, a project management professional. It gives you some tools that you can use in a variety of places that serve you and serve your team and serve your projects. So it's a really great distinction. So my final question, and this is your last chance to ask Yu Zhang a live question while she's here live. You can always put comments later if you're watching this on the recording, and we'll get back to you. But if you had to think of just one final thing that maybe, if you haven't mentioned, we know, I guess one of the big things I'm taking away is the importance of the why, and always make sure there's alignment. And there's so many other things, but if you had to just pick one other thing that you want viewers to walk away with, or one or two things, just concisely, what would those be?
I believe in teamwork and collaboration. And I believe that a project manager is more than a documentation note taker. It's more of a connector that always brings people's resources and ideas together through different ways of communications and collaborations. So I would like to encourage anyone who either is a role of project manager or working with a team, that always think about the team you're working with. Always think about the group of people you're working with. What's the best way to work with people, by understanding their style, by understanding what's their preferred ways of sharing their opinions, by understanding people can help you a lot in terms of gaining the trust, building relationships, and eventually will help you do the work better. So I'm if anything, I would like people to walk away thinking, it is the people that you work with. People matters more than a piece of documentation or a plan, because you can write a beautiful plan, and if people are not behind it, people are not buying, they are not part of the plan writing, the project is a failure at the beginning.
Got it. That's great advice for projects and for life. So Yu Zhang, first off, thank you. Secondly, how can people, if people want to continue the conversation with you, what's the best way for they can reach you?
LinkedIn is always the best way to reach me, and I have met amazing people through LinkedIn. All the sessions, all the posts that they do. So feel free to send me a message to share a recent article that you've read about project management, about any latest technology and tools. I'm all ears. I'm always here to learn, and I'm curious about what other people thinking of some ways to improve project management, or kind kind of learning new skills and new tools as a coach. So reach out through LinkedIn.
Yes, I can account for that. Yu Zhong always posts fantastic articles on her LinkedIn page. So do connect with her. And thank you, Yu Zhong. It was wonderful to see you. And everyone who's watching, thank you for your time. Please stay in touch. We're hoping to get back to regular episodes of Work Life Leader Live. If there's a topic that you want to see or engage with in a discussion, we'd love to know. You can always leave suggestions, comments, and feedback in any of our recordings. I read every comment, and we'll look forward to seeing you at our next episode. Take care. Thank you.